really good to be here. It's good to be here in community with you. I can feel that everyone's contributing to this experience today. I know there's a lot of people that specifically help out, like you talked about, but all of you are putting your energy in, and it's very palatable for me. And it's funny you talk about the social action, because I feel like I have a burning question. You know, we live in D.C., it's kind of a tense area and a tense time. Things are not, the world isn't showing up in some ways the way that I thought it would be showing up. And, you know, I've stomped my feet a few times, that didn't seem to help. So I have a burning question that you might share with me is, how can we in this unity movement really make a difference to shift the manner of discourse? I'm not even sure I can really judge maybe the different things going on, but the discourse to me is just unacceptable. You know, it's just not, the communication is just not good. It's very tense. It's very blaming. It's very violent. It's just painful. How can we contribute to something that's tangibly positive? That's my question. You know, is it outreach? Is it activism? Do we be exactly like the Unitarians, which is not bad? Do we do like the 60s? Do we do something? Do we say something? What should we be doing? How do we do it in unity? I love what you did last night, and I think there are different churches calling people together as a group to do certain things. But I also want to, and I think we need to continue that. All your ideas are critical. I also think there must be something that we can each do. I think of unity practices, spiritual practices, almost being in some ways very private. We have a personal daily practice, everybody, right? If you don't, I'm going to inspire you to shore that up a tiny bit more. What you did in here right now, together, is essential. It's essential. It's no longer, you know, something that we do and we thank each other for coming together. It's nice to get together. We're learning so much more about what happens when we are together and what the effect of that is. So I'm here to just say that, number one, the love that you can bring into your life in your own meditation every day is incredibly important to changing the world. And it's just not a platitude. It's just not a nice thing. I used to think it was good to be nice. It's good to be friendly. It's nice to maybe treat you like company, you know, when I see you. It's just good to be nice. No, it's more than that. It's much more than that. And I bring into this conversation of exploring. This is just an exploration. I bring in one of my favorite women, is Dr. Maria Montessori. How many of you have any experience with Montessori education? And you may know when you go in there, it's a very prepared space, you know, and it's very interesting. Maria Montessori found that if you prepare the space for the child, their mind becomes ordered on its own, and you can unleash who they are without teaching them anything, simply guiding and creating this open space. She's very profound. She's not only the first woman doctor in Italy, one of the very first engineers ever in Italy, and this phenomenal educator internationally. She's spoken at the UN when it was UNESCO. She has a whole part of their education is about peace. So besides their tremendous, very unusual progressive style of teaching the academics, language, math, history, it's a profound style, she has a peace agenda, a peace series of peace lessons, and something called Grace and Courtesy. She is a very deeply spiritual woman as well. She actually went to the Pope to try to create like an order, like another order, because she was started as a Catholic, but she was actually exiled to India during World War I, before World War II, and during World War II. But it was actually, I should say it was after World War I, during World War II. Mussolini kind of kicked her out of Italy. And so she ended up through a few precarious travels she ended up in Holland, where her son, there's a long story about Maria Montessori that I'd love to just talk to you about. She's an incredible human being, but she saw the militarization of education after World War I, and that greatly concerned her. And then when she was asked to teach these, forgotten children, these very poor children in the ghetto of Italy, she created this space for them. Everything was their size, and she watched them unfold. And it was nothing more than divine for her. It was like a divine experience, because she saw their intelligence. She saw their divinity. It was like angels were guiding their work. She's, like I said, a deeply, deeply spiritual person. In her philosophy, she believes in making sure the children have these grace and courtesy lessons. And the purpose is much more than just being nice. And a lot of people that are in Montessori know this about the grace and courtesy and think it's to create nice people and so that we're socially responsible, but it's much more than that. She was hoping to help literally create a society, to impact society by what she called cohesion, which is another word for unity. Everything you do, everything you say, all of that really helps to create society. Something you can do every day is really take that breath and think about how, we're communicating, how graceful, how hospitable we are. All of that is so much more important than just our individual selves being a kind person. It's helping to establish cohesion in our society. The reason that's really important, I found out tangentially, was this phenomenal book called The World of Six Songs. And it's really 6 types of songs. They are friendship, joy, comfort, knowledge, religion, and love. And there's something both of these people, the author is Daniel J. Levitin. There's something that he has in common with Maria Montessori, and that is that there's something about when people get together and we're doing something together has a larger impact. One of the things that Maria Montessori noticed about the children is they were planted within them was the seed of generosity for the greater good. And that ultimately is what we're here to try to affect. Not just our own lives, but the interactions of every person in society for a higher level of good. And it's something that Maria Montessori noticed in the children, and that's why she got very excited. She actually believed you can't teach anything to anyone between 3 and 6 years old. You're constantly allowing it to come forth. You're allowing it to come forth. And this is where she was completely blown away, moved, deeply spiritually moved by that. In this book, he, like I said, the different types of songs, friendship could be kind of like that cohesion. And he says that love is the ultimate, because love is when you're doing something for the sake of humanity at a higher level. Now, he puts his coming together, his cohesion, his unity in the form of music. And he says, the first songs were drums. So I have the drums here today. That basically a society can only be a certain size because tensions arise because we're human. And that the only way to bring people together is to do something that releases tension and gets people more synchronized on the same, literally in the same energy. So I really think it's so important to have your individual meditation practice. I love the grace and courtesy that that springs forth from that place that Maria Montessori is talking about. And then doing things together in community. That's why I say it's really essential we come together and meditate. It's very important because we're able to, first of all, enlarge this community, and we're able to have society on a larger level work better. There's a fantastic history in here and explanation about that, about how society kind of forms with regard to the amount of mutual experiences they can have, especially in vibration. A lot of you may have drummed before, you know how good that feels when we're really together. When our heartbeats are synchronized, something happens. And I think what happens after that, it just really does multiply and have an effect on humanity itself. And the size of our country, of our world, of our cities, of our communities. So I'm kind of blown away by this idea because sometimes I wonder what my impact on the world is. You know, I don't intend to have some big magnificent legacy, but I certainly would like to be contributing to something that is positive, and especially right now. I think I have a tendency to, give up. Why bother? Don't, just don't, please. We really do need all of us to be the love that we are, even more than before, even more than I really realized. You know how you have a book for a while and you finally really get into it? And I found something very, very interesting about Maria Montessori that I've been looking for years. I've been looking for this connection, and I just want to share this because Maria Montessori and Unity have a very, very special connection. The We Wisdom magazine, you may have heard of that. The very first Montessori school ever opened in the U.S. after World War I, when they all closed down, was at Unity Village in 1947 at the request of Myrtle Fillmore. And there's so much in Montessori. There's a lot of books about honoring the light of the child and what have you. But how did this happen? How did this happen? There's a woman, Dr. Elizabeth Kaspari, who is the one who set up this school in Unity Village. She was born in Switzerland and actually had a terrible illness. She had TB, but it was evidently in her feet. And their parents tried everything, and eventually she found a Swiss doctor which prescribed sunlight just happiness. It's just these like etheric kinds of things. This sounded so Unity. But to help her cope, she also learned to play piano. She's a great musician and is actually part of the music materials that Montessori created along with a couple of other women. So this sun doctor helped her just basically a better diet and bathing in the sun. She eventually married a guy named Charles, and they were invited to go to a pilgrimage to a Buddhist monastery high in the Himalayas to study comparative religions. Oh, I thought it was a fire drill. Oh my God. When she was up in the mountains, she met Maria Montessori. Maria Montessori, was exiled out of her wonderful Italy into Holland and eventually into India. So she met Maria Montessori, and they talked extensively about her program. She said, hey, you should take my course, but this woman, Elizabeth Kaspari, was in the middle of this other trip, so she didn't at the time. World War II broke out, and they couldn't leave. So for 4 years, this woman, Dr. Kasparis, spent 4 years with Maria Montessori learning about her work. What's interesting about her husband, Charles, is that he was into shortwave radio. Somehow during that time, guess what he picked up? Charles Fillmore's radio. So after World War II was over, they needed to find a place to live. Instead of going back to Switzerland, they decided to come to the U.S. And he was so enamored with Charles Fillmore and the Unity message, they moved to Lee Summit, Missouri. And Charles got a job with the Fillmores translating at Unity Village, at the prayer chapel. So he was a translator for Unity School of Christianity's Daily Word, and Elizabeth taught piano, and that's where Myrtle Fillmore asked her to start the school, We Wisdom, at Unity Village. They were already in alignment of each other's beliefs. So I found this kind of accidentally while I was preparing this material about Maria Montessori's belief about the importance of cohesion connected to what happens when you drum together and how that affects how society is built. So I just think that's very, very powerful. I wanted to share that because I've been looking for that for years. I'm like, how did this happen? So I don't think the Fillmores ever met Montessori. I thought maybe they did. I've been tracking that and looking at that for years. But I think it was through this other woman. And there's just so much about that. So music, infusion of rhythm. Rhythm really does help to really create that kind of cohesion, which is what I'd like to do with you today. I'd like you to experience that. I'd like you to know how important it is. So our healing drumming session this afternoon, for those of you who stay for that, who knows the impact? Who knows the impact? And song has been used for many things to accomplish many things. They say that sound brought down the walls of Jericho, that it's how a lot of things were built back in the ancient times through sound. Sound helps you get work done. These massive projects, from small to large. Those of us that fold laundry know it's the only way to get it done. But each song is a link in this evolutionary chain that has brought us where we are to help to create our society today. And there's just there's this incredibly strong bond, emotional bond that happens with synchronized, coordinated movements. And it's the feeling of a very deep spiritual nature. It's more than exhilarating. And it can lead to, things that can transcend. So I hope you've enjoyed exploring with me, because I'd like to continue to explore that as a way that I can give to humanity, to the world, by creating opportunities to synchronize from a space of love, synchronize our heartbeats together, and just knowing how important also our individual interactions are with each other in the world. So if you want to experiment with me, let's see the impact we can have on the world. So thank you. The song I'm going to sing now with you, you have drums out there because I have a drum part for you specifically to play. So who's your head drummer out there? Who's a strong? I need a couple strong drummers out there, because you're going to have to really hold this for me. Besides Rachel, of course. Anybody feel like? Because when I play this, I'll be playing the percussion on my guitar a little bit, but it would be nice if somebody felt really good about holding it for everybody else. And there are big drums here, big drums.
Come on, you know you want to drum. Good drum. Do that thing. You use what you need to. You feel it.
please don't hesitate and don't feel funny about this, because it's a laboratory. We're exploring something today. We're just exploring. Sometimes I do a message, I have a definite point. I'm not sure what my point is, but I'm willing to try to see if maybe we can make a difference. So I'm going to give you a little quick tip on drum. And here's the beat that I'm looking for. I just can't wait to live in faith. Releasing love that creates. Woo! Nice. I just can't wait. I just can't wait to live in faith. Faith knows the treasures that can exist. Faith causes things to manifest. It's the highest form of interaction and surrender. Into blue, I activate, no longer wait, I live in faith. Ooh, mountains Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.